I'm Pam Cureton. I am a dietitian who's been working in this field for about 23 years now. I started when I was 12 because you're all going, oh no, she's too young to be that. I taught Dr. Hill everything he knows when he came to the University of Maryland, and I started with Dr. Fasano. And I still actually do work with Dr. Fasano, so I fly up every Wednesday, Thursday to Boston to work up there. And I am also at the University of Maryland. So I've been doing this for a very long time. So I feel like the old grandpa that says, when I went to school. So how many of you have joined me? How many of you have been diagnosed more than 20 years ago? A few. Can you share with the people around you what bread was like 20 years ago? Because I chuckled a little bit to myself when people today complain about the bread. And I'm like, honey, when I started this, trust me. So we were often confused about the products back then. We weren't quite sure if we should eat the product or the box that it came in. Because they were about the same. About the same, right? So heavy, dense, crumbly, dry, just disgusting. So people would say, oh gosh, this is disgusting. I can make this better at home. So then they made it better. And then their neighbor said, oh, I need gluten-free. Will you sell me a loaf of bread? So some of the smaller companies started out that way, just by trying to give it to their neighbors and sell in online, and you had to order it online, that type of thing. I remember a good friend of mine that was diagnosed with celiac disease. I was waiting for her to go to lunch, and I grabbed her gluten-free pretzels, started munching it, and she almost killed me. She's like, don't eat those expensive, I have to mail order those. You couldn't get them in the grocery store. You could not walk in a grocery store and find anything labeled gluten-free. There was nothing labeled gluten-free. So the products weren't there, and they were extremely expensive. 10 years ago, and I do credit General Mills greatly, and I do appreciate, and I always tell people that work for General Mills how much the community at that time appreciated the fact that they changed Chex cereals to a gluten-free item. It was such a little change that made people feel normal again. They could actually go to the grocery store, go down the normal cereal aisle, pick up a normal cereal, pay a normal price, and eat something that their family has been used to all these years. So they started this. Then the next thing, Betty Crocker came out with cake mix. Again, you could go down the regular grocery store aisle and find a cake mix sitting right there, ready in a gluten-free cake mix next to the regular cake mixes. So I was shopping for this same friend for her birthday, and I went to get a box of this, and a little lady came up, and she's, oh, gluten-free. That must be good. Is that new? I'm like, okay, I'm off duty. And she's like, whoa, my nephew's having a birthday. I'm going to try this for him. I thought, oh my God, the poor nephew. Anyway, so I don't think Aunt May is making him birthday cakes anymore. But it's like, okay, I need the sale of this. I need them to sell this so they continue to do this for patients. So then I need to do this. So that kind of started the snowball. So this little lady is buying it. She had no idea what gluten was, but it was free of it. So if it's free of something, it has to be bad, right? So, if it's sugar-free, salt-free, fat-free, trans-fat-free, well, gluten-free, well, that's going to be bad. So I'm going to buy this gluten-free cake, poor kid. All right, I was bad. But anyway, I hope he had a good birthday anyway. Then came Udi's with bread you did not have to toast. Prior to this, if you didn't toast the gluten-free bread and eat it immediately slathered with butter, there was no eating it because it would fall apart, crumble. There was no taking a sandwich to work. Again, same friend pages me while I'm in the middle of celiac clinic, and she's like, Pam. I'm like, what? What's wrong? Guess what I'm having for lunch? Like, I'm in clinic. What? I'm having a sandwich. Because Udi's came out with the first bread you did not have to toast. You could actually eat it as is. So again, that expanded, then the choices, the taste, the texture was starting to improve. So today, from where we were to tasteless, very unpalatable food to then we finally made it palatable. But how did we do that? We did that by adding a lot of stuff to it that we don't necessarily need. So we're getting better, but we still need to use some caution. So when we follow a gluten-free diet, we do take some risks. There are some things that we have to be sure that the diet contains, because this is where we can have low vitamin, mineral issues with the diet if we're not careful. So again, the diet can be low in fiber, iron, some B vitamins, etc. So typically the reason for this, most of these products are made from starches and refined grains, like refined rice cereal or refined rice flour and starches. They typically use either the rice or the potato or tapioca. Then again, we want it to taste good, right? So it doesn't matter how good it is for you. If you can't chew it and swallow it, get it down, it doesn't matter how good it is for you or how safe it is for you if it doesn't taste good. So now we're going to add in what tastes good. Butter tastes good. Sugar tastes good. Fat tastes good. So those things so we're going to add those things to get the taste. So initially, these products were very calorically dense because they had to make those adjustments to get the taste and texture that we're used to. With these deficiencies, then, what can happen? So again, we heard earlier about some iron deficiencies, iron anemias, those types of things can reduce the reduced intake of calcium. Vitamin D can affect our bones, and we heard about that earlier today. Also, constipation is a big issue if we make that change from high fiber diet to a low fiber diet using all these products with the starches. So just so you don't feel terrible, when it comes to fiber, you're not alone. So it's just not a unique situation to people with celiac disease. The rest of the American public isn't getting it either. So they're eating that Wonder white bread that has no fiber, so they're still in trouble as well. So they're still a little low as well. So some of the secrets that we talk about today, I want you to go home and share with your neighbors and your Aunt Betty and all those people to get those fiber intake up there. And again, the problem being our refined wheat products, although they taste good, they're not nutritionally stellar because they have just removed all of those important B vitamins and iron from the product during the processing. So the government steps in and says, okay, now put them back. You took them out, now put them back in. And while you're at it, throw in some folate and some iron. So I want the B vitamins, folate, and iron, so they're fortified and enriched. Gluten-free products do not have to be fortified or enriched, so they don't fall under the same rule. So again, those can be missing from the diet. Have you run across anybody who's following the gluten-free diet because they think it's good for weight loss? And how's that working for them? Because we all know a gluten-free brownie is much healthier for you than a wheat brownie. And certainly gluten-free cookies are so much healthier than wheat cookies, right? So, no. So again, that misconception of the gluten-free diet is healthier, and if it doesn't have that gluten in it, it's going to be good for you. So unfortunately, as many of my patients find out, once they try all these wonderful gluten-free foods, that then the next visit when we get together, we're talking about weight control. Okay, so now we've got to say, well, now that you've experimented and found all these good foods, let's take a step back. So again, the recommendations for healthy diet are echoed pretty much what Crystal has already told you. And again, these are no different for you than what I would recommend for the rest of your family or anybody else. All healthy Americans should be eating along these same guidelines. We should all be taking a look at naturally gluten-free foods, both from the perspective of their health benefit and their cost benefit. Because one of the remaining big hurdles in the gluten-free world is the cost. So when you're talking about a $6 loaf of bread, that's a lot of money. So you want to lessen the expense of other foods. So all of these things are going to be very expensive. My family wanted waffles one morning. So I would go to my cupboard and I don't have my usual Bisquick. I don't look up a recipe and follow a recipe for it. I use Bisquick. Didn't have it, but I had gluten-free Bisquick on hand. So I'm like, I'm sneaky. So I'm going to make their gluten-free Bisquick waffles. Loved them. All they said was, could we have more? And they're not polite people. These are not polite people, trust me. So, taste, texture, everything was fine, except my regular Bisquick, $2.99. Gluten-free Bisquick, $4.99. Okay, so if I have a family, a big family, if I had teenagers, how quickly do you go through that box? So cost is still an issue. So you get around it by relying on the healthier, naturally gluten-free food. So looking at the things, as Crystal has said, how about some sliced oranges for a snack? How about popcorn for a snack? We don't need to get the expensive pretzels that I almost got my head bit off from eating them with my friend. So again, and then looking for whole grains. The reason wheat is fortified and is enriched is because it's highly processed. So they have processed it and they've removed the endosperm and they've taken the good stuff out. So now they have to replace the good stuff. But if it's a whole grain, you don't need to do that. It already has it. It's still intact and it's still there. So looking for those whole grain items. So we just talked about all the deficiencies. So we talked about iron deficiency and all the other things that the gluten-free diet can be low in. Well, guess what? If we look at some of these ancient grains, we can find a real nutrition powerhouses, and we've got a better plan than those wheat eaters out there. So we need to share this with the wheat eaters that, hey, there are some great nutritional values to these ancient grains. Now, when I started doing this, had I ever heard of Amaranth? What's teff? You know, what is this stuff? I don't know. So I'm not, familiar with these, but over time, these have started now, again, as I think a kind of like a side benefit for the gluten-free diet. Quinoa has become very popular, very trendy in some of the restaurants. So some of these grains are coming back. So familiarize yourself or look at recipes or look at things that contain some of these grains to get those missing nutrients back. Has anybody seen this? Because I know you're all looking at the ingredient list. So you're looking and you're searching that ingredient list. Where's the wheat? Does it have any wheat-containing ingredients in there? Oh, gluten-free, done, in the basket. But no one looks at this one. This is the example of current labeling, and there will be some changes. I think some positive changes possibly coming. It's, government, how quickly they move and how swiftly they get the information out there. But this is currently what the labels are looking like. This is where you need to go next. Once you know it's gluten-free, but is it good for you? Is it healthy? What has it got? What do I have? And I want to break this to you now. The first thing I want you to look for is the serving size. So when you buy that bag of potato chips, you have to share that with at least, I think, 8 to 10 people. Because that's not a single serving that I thought it was. So you have to look at the portion size. So this big old muffins, it's like, oh, look at this muffin. It's only 200 calories. That's great. Well, if you share it with 5 other people, then that portion is. So you've got to look at the serving size, and then you got to look at the calories, the fat content, the sugar content, the fiber content. Compare those nutritional values from one product to the next. So again, once you've discovered that it's gluten-free, now let's look at the nutrition side. Is it good for you? Are there other choices? Nabisco has some rice crackers that they've come out with. Just the plain rice crackers, 0 fiber, low protein. One of the other flavored crackers, same brand but different flavor, has extra fiber and a little bit more protein. So you're looking at the 2 crackers, same brand, but they're going to have different nutritional values. So again, look at the iron content. Is there any? So when you're making those comparisons. So again, look for the ingredient list. You're looking for whole grains. So you're going to look at those whole grains, and then you're going to look at the serving size and what it's going to cost you. So again, those are just some examples of those food labels. The food labels will change, but they'll still give you some important information. So thank you. I do come from the University of Maryland. We have more information on our website. And Crystal, do we see adults?
Yes. You see adults. Do you see adults?
So just to let people, we are a pediatric, we do have pediatric gastroenterologists, but we do see adults as well.
About it, but it's wildly important that
so last night at dinner, I kept saying, we see adults, we see adults. And Crystal goes, Pam, do you see adults? So I said, I wanted everybody know that we do see adults up the road. So it's not just kids, but we do take care of the adults as well. So thank you.